Hey everybody, welcome back to Trekyards. I'm Captain Foley.
And I am Connor Cockins. We are talking multiverse.
Kind of, yes. Today's topic, we're going to talk about the Orville, as well as Star Trek Discovery, and just basically the different approaches that each has taken to sci-fi. They're each trying to be their own thing, but they're taking different approaches to it.
Although, disclaimer, both shows have evolved quite a lot in their two-series run. Star Trek Discovery started out much darker, went much more in the Orville spectrum for Season 2, and the Orville went from more comedy to much more drama-based, more like Discovery in Season 2 as well. So they kind of had two spectrums and sort of went a bit more in the middle.
Yeah, a lot of people compare Orville to TNG, which is a fair comparison. It's obviously what I think Seth was going for, that kind of look, the brightness, even the optimistic Gene Roddenberry vibe of the future. Whereas I think Discovery has taken the new Netflix approach, I guess you'd call it, or HBO approach to storytelling, where it's an overarching story, much like Game of Thrones, and a lot darker and grittier. And a lot of people are really not happy about that because a lot of people are saying that Orville is the Star Trek that they want. That Star Trek's trying something new, and Orville's kind of picked up that TNG optimistic mantle almost.
Yeah, it's funny. Discovery is trying something new by doing the same thing as everyone else right now, and Orville is trying something old because no one else is doing it right now. You have shows like The Expanse, which again take the serialized, darker storytelling, but there's no other shows that do the Orville style now, the TNG style, where it is about enjoy an episode, have a real moral message, characters you really like.
And you said that in Discovery Season 2, they kind of went the more Orville approach by lightening the darkness a little bit and kind of adding a little bit of humor, a little bit. They kind of took a step away from the original idea, which was Brian Fuller's plan, which they kind of had to course correct on. And they listened to the fans. They started addressing some canon issues and tried to do some things like that. I mean, the trailer for Season 2 with the humor and the turbo lift with the sneeze and stuff did feel like they were lightening the mood quite a bit more, but that was very minimal when we actually saw the entire season. Maybe attempted it early on, and then we know they changed showrunners halfway through again. So it's hard to say exactly what they're doing. I think just changing showrunners and course correcting mid-season multiple times now is just a really bad idea. But it started out being something completely different, and they're kind of getting back to that more Star Trek vibe now, I think.
Well, the mantra of that show, the first Season 1, was make a Star Trek show that was not for Star Trek fans, that was for average people, that fit sleekly into the current demographic of darker, gritty. I mean, if you look at the space visual effects, they're incredibly dark. The set's very, very dark. It's sort of as far away from the Star Trek vibe as you could possibly get. It's doing something new, but it's doing something new irrespective of any Star Trek vibe. Season 2 took actually a Star Trek approach inside of the Discovery vibe and elevated the whole piece. Orville, on the other hand, Season 1 is much more about the comedy, although you can see the mindset of the people in charge change over the course of Season 1 as they are constantly trying to tweak the humour levels. But by the end of Season 1, you've got the jokes jump in if there's the right spot to. And then Season 2, they took that one leap further and did very much even more heavy stories.
Yeah, because I'm a huge fan of Seth MacFarlane, Family Guy, American Dad. So when I first saw the trailers for the Orville, I thought it was going to be in that vein as far as humor went, and the trailers and the first few episodes kind of really reflect that, especially the first episode. Moving on, the humor did get dialed back quite a bit, and they started hitting more serious story ideas. And it's hard to say whether you consider Orville an homage to TNG, a parody of it. I wouldn't say it's a parody because it's a little too serious right now, but it's definitely an homage to TNG. I mean, I can understand why a lot of Star Trek fans like it in comparison to Discovery. It does have that your kind of home vibe. It feels like TNG again. It really does. Every time I watch it, I kind of overlay like TNG uniforms and like backgrounds. It's so naturally fits into that. Even the visuals, I find are more representative of what we've seen from Star Trek in the past than Discovery for sure, because Discovery Season 1 we got almost no good ship passes or well-lit ship shots. It's all very, very dark and very minimal. Season 2 kind of fixed that a little bit, but it's just it's very different approaches to the sci-fi genre, and it's like Star Trek kind of is trying a new thing now, and Orville kind of came in and took the place of Star Trek, and it's just a bad time for that, I think, because everybody's so on the fence, either, well, one way or the other about Discovery. You either love it or you hate it. So the people that hate it, of course, latching on to the Orville, saying this is the Star Trek we want. This is what, which I hate that argument, because it's I don't know what to say about that. I still like Discovery for what it is. Discovery's kind of hit and miss a little bit. I don't want to say that I love it, because I don't. I don't want to say I hate it, because I don't. It's Star Trek. Star Trek's back on TV. I'm happy about that. We reviewed them all. There's good and bad in all the episodes.
And to jump on the ship itself, the Orville is a ship, is a home, and the Orville itself is part of the crew. It's a character. You like the sets. It feels homely. You could easily want to work there. You can understand it all. Great. Unlike even Deep Space Nine and Voyager, those locations that we're set on feel like home, feel like character. The Discovery does not feel like a home, does not feel like somewhere you want to be. The ship itself, that is just a thing they use to get places. And very different approaches, although Discovery looks more advanced. But Orville looks more functional. I mean, you look at the new Enterprise bridge, all those lights, all those flashlights, all the reflective surfaces. Boy, that's a not good work environment to physically just do your job on. Orville bridge, super clean, super easy, that is a workable design.
It's funny you mention the Orville design, because that's very divisive as well. A lot of people, I actually have a friend who won't watch Orville because he doesn't like the ship designs. Says they look like spoons. I really like the designs in Discovery, Orville. Discovery designs are fine. The Shinzo, the Discovery, they look really cool, but not for the era they're set in. Again, that's the Brian Fuller directive of we're shoehorning this in right before TOS. No cylindrical nacelles, which is a stupid idea right off the hop. That was the directive originally. It's changed. So we got the Enterprise that looks more like the Enterprise is supposed to, and things like that. Even the approach to ship design is radically different, because they're not approaching it as a Star Trek series. They're approaching it as something new for Discovery, which would have fit perfectly in a post-Nemesis, post-Voyager universe. We've called that out multiple times, that if it had been set then, everything would make sense, and we'd be like, you guys did a pretty fantastic job. Orville has the more clean look, the more Federation vibe. It has very much that TOS aesthetic, more so than TNG, I think. It has, because the ships are white, they feel more, I don't know, they feel more TOS to me. I don't know, I'm kind of sick of the argument online about, Orville's my Star Trek because Discovery is not what I like. Well, fine. It's an interesting debate in the fan community, and I don't agree with it. It's its own thing. Discovery is still Star Trek. It's just they're going for a different approach, which is fine. The Orville just came at an odd time. Like, if it had come like 4 years ago, before Discovery, 4 years before Discovery, it would be a totally different conversation we'd be having. But the fact that they hit at the exact same time, and even Orville this season delaying for 2 weeks, or delayed for 1 week, and then delayed for 2 weeks, just so that it could have its season finale after Discoveries, I find interesting as well.
Although Seth did tweet last week saying that he's still working on the final episode, so I think also they wanted to really end with a bang, and the amount of VFX needed for a bang is quite a lot. So I think also they just said, well, I guess Fox is going to let us do this. They'd let us do it early, because often you can rush effects and you can rush things. And I also don't agree with it's my Star Trek so much, because I like living by certain, you set up the rules and the expectations. You say this is canon Star Trek Prime Timeline, we can judge you by those standards and all the problems you give that. You have a complete alternate universe, non-Star Trek. Okay, judge by those standards. And it's not fair to say, well, this looks like this, whatever. You give your shuttles cloaks that easily. Okay, interesting. So by that, for me, they're not. One is the Orville, one is Star Trek, and I'm kind of sad, honestly, with season 2, how the jokes have been reduced so drastically in season 2 to the point of being pretty much an afterthought. 97% drama, maybe 90, and say, well, where can I throw a joke in? That fits. And for me, it's taken the uniqueness of Orville and reducing that to a very TNG, let's deal with each story as it comes, without much flavour to that. And so Orville Season 2 has been a bit of a disappointment to me overall. I think the balance has reshifted. So Discovery, has enhanced in season 2, because they had those fun moments and the story was intriguing. I certainly was looking forward to watching Discovery more in season 2 than Orville. But then now, having seen Orville's Discovery season 2, I'm thinking, well, it was, a bit lackluster. And now Orville, I'm thinking, well, that story was really good. That story, just different framing structures of the two shows can give you very different thoughts on them as you start, as you go on.
I find it really interesting, too, that Seth MacFarlane, he's obviously a huge fan of Star Trek. He was in Star Trek Enterprise. He played one of the Trip's engineers. So he's a Star Trek fan for sure. Even the guest stars that they've had on the Orville speak to that. So if it wasn't for Star Trek TNG or just Star Trek, I don't think we'd have an Orville. It also pulls in a lot, I think, from Galaxy Quest, which also was based on Star Trek. It's a real love letter and homage to Star Trek, and I love the vibe of the Orville. I love sitting down and watching the Orville, just because it does bring back that old, nostalgic TNG on TV vibe, but with Seth MacFarlane's writing and humor, which, again, I think Seth MacFarlane's fantastic. I'm just thankful that he did this show. Hopefully it gets renewed for season 3. It hasn't as of yet, which is kind of odd. And Discovery, I mean, yeah, they tried something new. It didn't hit with all the fans for multiple reasons. I think if it would have looked more like the period piece it should have been, I think it would have spoke to a lot more fans, even being the darker, grittier kind of vibe. But they just made too many missteps early on. So it's Star Trek. It's supposed to be that optimistic vision of the future that Gene Roddenberry initially envisioned. I think that the Orvilles kind of scooped up that mantle a little bit and slipped in that slot. But I mean, things have to evolve. They have to change. So I really don't have a problem with Discovery taking a new approach to things.
Well, this is where it's the creative force behind the show makes a huge difference. You look at Kevin Feige of the Marvel franchise and look at the wonderful monster of a franchise they've created from Iron Man up until the 2 Infinity War movies. That journey is unprecedented in the history of the world. You look at the Star Wars, the original 6, again, fascinating journey of how that all developed, and the last 3 with no clear direction and the problems that's caused. You look at Orville, a super clear direction, super clear identity as to what he wants to produce. There you go. And then you look at Discovery, and the person who started the job had a very clear idea. It then got, unfortunately, quite corrupted by creatives from in the upper management, wanted something different. Because, to launch a streaming service, you need to get as many people to pay that as possible. So the more general audience you can appeal to, the better. And so we can't make a Trek show for Trek people, because then other people might not buy the service. And so now you've got a dichotomy of, well, we're not making Trek for Trek fans, but we're trying to use the Trek tropes like Spock, pre-TOS, all these things to try and get some sort of marketing. It's fascinating. The wrong person in at the top, a trickle-down effect, because of Brian's original instructions on what he wanted with the Klingons and the ships. They had to keep that for season 2. Whereas if a different person in charge had said different things, it would have been different.
Yeah, the thing with Star Trek is it's more of a tapestry. You got all these years of history behind it, and this period piece look that this is supposed to have. That, when we saw it in TNG, when we saw it in Deep Space Nine, it's always had that same look, because they went out of their way to, painstakingly recreate it, because it is a period piece. It's a vision of this future of the '60s. Orville, on the other hand, has a fresh sandbox to play in. So every week, they're doing their own thing and creating their canon, creating their universe, and they're not breaking canon rules. Because we've done all the reviews for Discovery and Orville up to this point, and because they said, okay, this is a prime timeline, this is in this era, right before TOS. They didn't say it was reimagined. They didn't take the J.J. Abrams approach. It's a new universe. Again, we would have given them kudos for that. But because they say it's prime, we've had to nitpick a lot with canon and stuff, and it's a real shame. It just feels like we're much more critical on Discovery than we are on Orville, but Orville's got this fresh, clean slate to work with, and they're not breaking their own rules, their own continuity in the process. So, again, totally different approach. You've got a brand new show that's creating its universe, and one that's kind of destroying its universe, sadly, creating its own Discovery verse, but they've said it's not its own reality, it's not its own.
Both seasons improved from their conception to their second season?
Discovery, I think, definitely has. because it was more of a cohesive piece from beginning to end, instead of being changed halfway through and having to be forced into certain directions.
When they tell you to make 3 episodes of filler,
yeah,
in the middle of your season, it's not the best sign for a show, as in Discovery episodes 4, 5, and 6, or 6, 7, and 8. Not the best sign, guys.
So I would say, yes, Discovery Season 2 definitely better than Season 1. Again, there was still some course correction going on for the fans, as well as the changeover in leadership halfway through, and again in Season 2, unfortunately.
And at the end of Season 2, with the new co-showrunner.
Yeah.
So another change in leadership release, alteration in leadership.
Yeah. Which doesn't do anybody any good. Any reshoots or rewrites, anything like that, always
Although that
screws
said,
with creativity.
The reshoots were pretty much, quote-unquote noticeable, that, now we're past it, it's hard to see what they didn't do, and did actually probably, I'm sure they did help to create a more balanced season, so probably in this case, reshoots probably helped.
And as for Orville Season 2, I think it's been pretty... I mean, if the first couple episodes didn't quite fire on all cylinders like I expected them to, but they've definitely made up for that since then. Every series has its hit and miss episodes. TNG was not exactly the same way, especially seasons 1 through 3 had a lot of episodes. So I think Orville's been consistent across the board, and looking forward to seeing more from them for sure. So
the writing just so much better. And Orville, for me, it's lost a lot of the Orville charm, but doesn't mean the stories are less good. But some of the stories are less good to me. It's variable. I like a lot of the moments. It's a show that you really want to watch each week. If you recall that episode where they had a planet use star signs to work out who was the most troubling people in the society. I really like that one. You did not.
Oh, I didn't like that one.
That just shows that people can dislike similar thing. And also people liked Identity Part 1 and Part 2. I thought it was okay. That's the problem with expectations. You're told by 7 or 8 people it's the best episode ever. You watch it and think, yep, it's pretty good. I'm intrigued. Both hope of Season 3, both think might be very different for a Season 3 with lessons. You can only learn by doing, really. And both have had really interesting marks on the landscape. One proves that you can make something that is episodic in modern cinema. You can make something that's positive in modern cinema, and it can really resonate with people because Orville is of the fans, is for the fans, and you can also make something that you can also make Star Trek look like a movie if you give them enough money, and modernize to the extreme. You can make an era you can make any era of Star Trek look hyper modern if you just retool the entire era and throw unlimited money at it.
But I think that's it for our discussion, guys. Whether you prefer Orville or Discovery, or you like them both, let us know in the comments down below what you guys think. I really like them both. I'm not one or the other. That's not how I work. I really enjoy just having Star Trek back on, whether it's good or not. It's all subjective. So, but anyway, guys, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to click the notification icon so you can join us every time we have a discussion.
And if anyone out there wants to support us directly, you can do it on Patreon or via our website or via our Super Chat lives, which we do every single week. You can be part of our community and talk to us live as we do. We'll talk to Stuart live because he's here too. And you can just part of the conversation. And thanks so much in advance, anyone.
So until next time, guys, I'm Captain Foley.
And Commander Cummings.
Bye, everybody.
Guys.